Chapter 11. Just as Songwon thought everything was ready and was waiting for nightfall to take action, four members of the Tian Sha gang entered the courtyard and settled into the small building. Two of them even stood guard right outside his door. This left Songwon dumbfounded. Did Ji-in sense my intention to escape? Impossible, I disguised myself so well I shouldn't have been exposed. Seeing his chance of escape slip away, Songwon paced back and forth in his room, agitated and uneasy. No matter how hard he thought, he couldn't figure out how Ji-in had discovered his plan. In reality, Ji-in hadn't discovered Songwon's intention to escape. Ji-in was just habitually cautious and worried that if Songwon was left alone, he might sneak into the small building and steal his secrets and cultivation techniques. It was this coincidence that thwarted Songwon's escape plan. In the following days, Songwon spent his time in constant anxiety. Every time he thought of risking everything to try climbing down the cliff and escaping, the sight of the four strong guards with their steel knives brought him back to reality. Songwon noticed that the once quiet wing area had become lively again. Young people were constantly being brought into the wing and then detained, waiting for Ji-in to come out and teach them cultivation techniques. 10 days later, Ji-in finally emerged. Ji-in was still full of energy, confident in the pills he had refined this time. Songwon, follow me to the small building. Looking at Ji-in who suddenly appeared in front of him, Songwon's face turned extremely grim. He didn't know how to resist. It seemed that since encountering Guahang, he had become like meat on a chopping board, with no ability to resist. After hesitating for a while, Songwon still followed Ji-in to the small building. Take this pill, it will greatly enhance your cultivation. As long as you break through to the 7th level, you can become a core member of the Tian Sha gang and freely come and go. Ji-in tempted him with benefits. At this moment, the situation had already threatened Songwon's life, and he could no longer maintain the disguise on his face. He stared at Ji-in with hatred, wanting to punch him in the smiling face. But he knew he was no match for Ji-in. If he angered Ji-in, he might end up like the chubby boy from before, gifted a yellow talisman by Ji-in and turned into a Hiroshima Nagasaki, reduced to a pile of ashes. Weakness is a sin. At this moment, Songwon understood this phrase with utmost clarity. A cold smile suddenly appeared on Ji-in's face. I didn't expect that among my disciples there would be someone smart. It seems you've already guessed part of the truth, but I advise you, don't try to resist, obediently take the pill. As long as you survive, I will truly give you freedom. Clang! A token the size of a baby's palm was thrown to the ground. Ji-in continued, this is my token. With it, you can freely go anywhere within the Tian Sha gang. Songwon looked at the token on the ground, then at the pill in Ji-in's hand. After some hesitation and contemplation, he took the pill from Ji-in's hand and picked up the token from the ground. Hopefully, Master will keep his word. If one's strength is insufficient, one can only rely on luck. When Nyo tried the medicine for the first time, he didn't die either. Don't worry, I always keep my word. You've seen it already. There are new people coming. If you survive this time, I won't need you to test the medicine again. You just need to take care of the herb fields for me. I'm just afraid that if there are no more test subjects in the future, you'll make me test the medicine again. Songwon thought to himself, if he could survive this crisis, he would still have to find a way to leave. Songwon sat cross-legged, tilted his head back, and swallowed the pill. He immediately began to circulate his energy to absorb the medicinal power. As soon as the pill entered his stomach, it turned into waves of heat, rapidly raising Songwon's body temperature. The heat flowed through his meridians, coursing through his limbs and bones, spreading throughout his entire body. At the same time, his vital energy and blood were rapidly consumed. His face gradually lost its color, becoming extremely pale. Songwon could clearly feel the heat in his meridians being gradually refined by the longevity technique, ultimately converging in his dantian and becoming part of his spiritual cultivation. However, the massive consumption of vital energy and blood made Songwon feel weak, as if he had been repeatedly ravaged by dozens of women. He felt that even sitting cross-legged on the ground was strenuous, and he had a strong urge to lie down and rest. You can't lie down. If you stop circulating your energy, the unrefined medicinal power will quickly devour your vital energy and blood, making you die even faster. Ji-in's voice sounded in his ears, leaving Songwon with no choice but to trust him. After all, Ji-in didn't want Songwon to fail either. Songwon gritted his teeth and continued to persist. When Songwon felt that his vital energy and blood were almost completely depleted and he could no longer hold on, a mysterious energy suddenly appeared in his body. This energy came out of nowhere, without any warning. It was as if under the extreme pressure on his body, some special constitution within him had been activated. At this moment, Songwon had no time to think about anything else. He used this energy to quickly refine the medicinal power. Observing Songwon's reaction to the medicine, Ji Yin's face turned from surprise to delight. Although Songwon experienced severe depletion of vital energy and blood, his body did not show signs of aging, and he was almost done refining the medicinal power. From the current situation, Songwon was definitely not in danger of dying. Ji Yin's eyes lit up, feeling that success was near. Half an hour later, Songwon finished circulating his energy and meditating. Having completely refined the medicinal power, he opened his eyes wearily, and the first thing he saw was Ji Yin's outstretched hand. Holding a black pill. Before Songwon could react, Ji Yin had already placed the pill in his mouth. Don't worry too much. This pill is the Tian Sha Gang's 7-day heartbreak pill. As long as you take the antidote every 7 days, this pill won't affect you at all. As Ji Yin explained, Songwon, who was extremely weak, had no strength to resist, and the pill was already in his stomach. The deed was done. Resistance was futile. Songwon could only accept the fact that he had ingested the poison and was now under Ji Yin's control. Half an hour later, having barely regained some strength, Songwon stood up, leaned against the wall, went downstairs, and returned to his room. Throughout the entire process, Songwon realized his body was extremely weak. Even walking took all his effort, and his legs wouldn't stop trembling, like he had been pampered by several noblewomen. Lying on the bed, Songwon began to recall the mysterious energy that had appeared at the critical moment. If it weren't for this mysterious energy, Songwon felt he would have likely followed in the footsteps of Ernyo and Zheng Cheng. At this moment, Songwon carefully sensed his entire body but couldn't find any trace of the mysterious energy, as if it had been completely consumed. End of the chapter. Chapter 12. Over the next 2 days, Songwon noticed a significant improvement in his diet. Every meal included precious medicinal herbs such as ginseng, dangshan, astragalus, and others. In addition, there were numerous nourishing soups and tonics to replenish his qi and blood. By the early morning of the 3rd day, Songwon felt his body had largely recovered, though his lower back still felt a bit weak. I must have wasted my youth not cherishing my vitality and indulging in reckless behavior. This body is only in its teens, yet it's already feeling weak, truly unworthy, Songwon muttered to himself in frustration. Rising early, he planned to go out today. Ji Yin had given him a token allowing him to move freely without restriction. He had been confined within this courtyard for 2 months, and it was time to explore. Stepping out of his room, Songwon saw dozens of young boys and girls gathered in the courtyard area. Ah, how did I end up in a world where human rights are non-existent? Songwon lamented as he passed through the courtyard area toward the main gate. Suddenly, a voice from behind stopped him in his tracks. Songwon, where are you going? It was Ji Yin's voice. He was about to instruct new disciples on how to cultivate the longevity technique. Songwon was speechless. How did he encounter Ji Yin so early in the morning? But with his life in Ji Yin's hands, Songwon had no choice but to comply. He walked over to Ji Yin and respectfully answered, reporting to Master, I plan to go outside for a stroll. Ji Yin nodded approvingly and kindly replied, it's good to go out for a walk. Turning to face the young people gathered, Ji Yin loudly announced, this is Songwon, my senior disciple. He has been following me in cultivation for 2 months. As long as you diligently practice, you too can become my direct disciple like Songwon. With the immortal techniques I will teach you, success and prosperity will come naturally. Ji Yin's impassioned speech stirred up the emotions of the young people present. Songwon was speechless. How did he become the tool of Ji Yin's manipulative rhetoric? Come, say a few words to your future junior brothers and sisters, Ji Yin instructed Songwon. Despite his reluctance, Songwon forced a warm smile on his face. Fellow junior brothers and sisters, I hope you can earnestly follow Master's teachings. Once you master the chi refining stage, you'll be like carp leaping over the dragon gate. Following Master's guidance is the culmination of your good fortune across lifetimes and the best opportunity to change your destiny in this life. I hope you cherish it and don't miss this great opportunity. At the same time, Songwon silently thought, I'm sorry, everyone, it's survival of the fittest. The sooner you advance in your cultivation, the less chance I have of being sacrificed in some experimental concoction. Ji Yin nodded in satisfaction. Well said. Take this token I gave you. You can withdraw 500 taels of silver from the treasury each month. Thank you, Master. I'll go now. Songwon bowed and headed towards the courtyard gate. With Ji Yin's token in hand, Songwon encountered no obstacles along the way, and most people showed him great respect. After asking for directions several times, Songwon arrived smoothly at the Tian Sha gang's treasury without any hesitation about saving money for the gang. Songwon withdrew the maximum amount, 400 taels in 100 liang notes, 9 10 liang notes, plus 10 liang in small change. 500 taels of silver was a considerable sum in the current times, enough to support an average family of 3 for a month. Carrying this fortune, Songwen left Tian Sha Gang headquarters with a light step. The streets of Yanqing were bustling with people coming and going, lively and crowded. Songwen wandered through the city, occasionally stopping to buy some street food. Since starting his qi cultivation, Songwen found himself with a much larger appetite. There were many street performers on the roadside, something Songwen had never seen before in his original world. Intrigued, he stopped to watch and even tipped some small change when particularly entertained, encouraging the performers to put on an even livelier show. The entire morning passed as Songwen roamed through Yanqing, covering almost half the city. After a simple lunch at a roadside stall, Songwen entered a medical clinic. Though seemingly idle, Songwen had been covertly noting down the locations of several large medical clinics throughout the morning. He intended to inquire about the 7-day heartbreak pill at these establishments. He was wary of being followed by Ji Yin's people and didn't dare enter any clinic rashly. After observing for the entire morning, he was fairly certain that he wasn't being tailed, so he confidently entered a clinic. However, this realization also cast a shadow over him. Ji Yin was bold enough to let him out, indicating that the poison of the 7-day heartbreak pill was likely very difficult to neutralize. Upon entering a clinic named Xinglin Tang, Songwen approached an elderly man with colorful hair and explained his situation. According to Songwen's inquiries, this man was named Xue Tao, a well-known divine doctor in Yanqing renowned for treating difficult and obscure illnesses. His clinic was always crowded with patients seeking his expertise, but he was notoriously greedy and charged exorbitant fees. Ordinary people rarely sought his services. To consult with him, Songwen had already paid 10 taels of silver, regardless of whether Xue Tao could cure him or not. This money was non-refundable. Dr. Xue, I've been poisoned and need your help to detoxify me, Songwen explained. Dr. Xue nodded and instructed, extend your left hand for me to examine your pulse. Without hesitation, Songwen complied. After a moment of pulse diagnosis, Dr. Xue furrowed his brows. Switch to your right hand. After examining both of Songwen's pulses and observing his tongue coating, eye conditions, and other symptoms, Dr. Xue said, from what I see, you've recently suffered extensive loss of essence and blood, leading to severe depletion of qi and blood. However, I detect no traces of poisoning whatsoever. Disappointed, Songwen couldn't help but say, Dr. Xue, please examine me again. I'm absolutely certain that I've been poisoned. Dr. Xue replied, I've practiced medicine for decades and treated countless poisoned patients. I don't see any signs of poisoning in you. If you truly are poisoned, I fear I'm not capable of treating it and you'll have to find another renowned doctor. Songwen sighed inwardly. As expected, the 7-day heartbreak pill wasn't so easily remedied. He visited 5 more clinics afterward, and all the physicians reached the same conclusion. There were no signs of poisoning in him. This left Songwen feeling somewhat disappointed. It seems I'll have to find the antidote from within Tian Sha Gang. Songwen recalled that Ji Yin had inadvertently mentioned that the poison originated from Tian Sha Gang. End of the chapter. Chapter 13. As the sun set in the west, the remaining sunlight looked like blood. Songwen was walking through the streets with a somewhat despondent mood. As he walked, suddenly 2 young women, dressed provocatively, stopped him in his tracks. Hey little brother, come inside and have some fun. The 2 women each took one of Songwen's arms, their flirtatious chests rubbing against his arms. This made Songwen feel aroused. Looking up, he saw a 3-story building ahead. On the balcony were more than a dozen lightly dressed young women, flirting with passers-by. Attracting curious glances from onlookers, Songwen realized he had unconsciously wandered into a brothel. He felt a sudden urge, thinking he needed to vent his pent-up emotions. The brothel seemed like a suitable place. Just as he was about to follow the 2 women inside to experience the ancient brothel atmosphere, he felt a sharp pain in his waist. He woke up abruptly, realizing he was extremely weak. Even if he entered the brothel, he would likely be powerless. He could only sigh in frustration. Songwen exerted himself, breaking free from the women's grip, hurriedly explaining, next time, next time. Watching Songwen fleeing, one of the women coldly snorted, humph, good-looking but useless. He's so weak at such a young age, it's a waste of a handsome appearance. Leaving the brothel, Songwen noticed the setting sun. He realized it was time to return. Since the city's medical center couldn't cure his poisoning, his only hope lay with the Tian Sha Gang. He worried that after dark, Yenqing's criminal elements would emerge, and wandering the city might be dangerous. Currently in the northern part of Yenqing and the Tian Sha gang in the south, returning meant crossing the entire city since successfully cultivating his inner energy. Song Wen's mental faculties had greatly improved. He quickly calculated the layout of Yenqing and today's route in his mind, identifying the shortest path back. By the time it got dark, Song Wen had passed through numerous alleys to return near the Tian Sha gang's base. Once he navigated the current alley and ascended the next slope, he would soon reach the Tian Sha gang. The alley was deserted, with foul-smelling gutters along its sides. Halfway through, Song Wen suddenly saw two figures ahead, one tall and one short. Probably a father and son. He thought. The light was poor, and he couldn't make out their faces clearly. Without much thought, Song Wen continued forward since taking the blood-rejuvenating pill. His cultivation had advanced to the later stage of the first realm. Though he had never practiced any martial arts, relying solely on his spiritual power, ordinary people were no match for him. As they approached within 10 meters, Song Wen gradually distinguished the rough appearances of the two people, a muscular man and a child around 10 years old. The man's muscles were extremely developed, stretching his robe tightly. Could he be the martial artist known for external cultivation? Having been in this world for over 2 months, Song Wen had gained a preliminary understanding of its martial prowess. He had seen experts from the Tian Sha gang effortlessly lift hundreds of kilograms of boulders and smash them with a single punch. The small child, however, made Song Wen cautious. He recognized the child as the beggar boy who had fought with him over a bun and whom he had injured with a kick. Now, the beggar boy also recognized Song Wen. He suddenly grabbed the muscular middle-aged man and said with hatred in his voice, "Big Brother Biao, this is the guy who injured me last time, leaving me bedridden for over a month." Big Brother Biao instantly flew into a rage. He had control over 12 beggars, who provided him with their daily earnings, and this boy beggar by his side was his most adept beggar, also his assistant in managing the other little beggars, and precisely because of this, the boy could maintain his healthy limbs. To arouse sympathy from others and beg for more copper coins, the other little beggars were all made disabled by Big Brother Biao. During the time the boy rested, Big Brother Biao's income sharply declined, leading to him not having enough money recently to buy 6-ingredient Romania pills. Note: it is used to treating deficiency. It can lead to various problems such as erectile dysfunction. He had hooked up with his own sister-in-law, and not meeting her for a long time made her suspicious that he had a new mistress outside, causing her to ignore him. In recent days, Big Brother Biao even found out that his sister-in-law was often exchanging flirtatious glances with the neighbor, Lao Wang. Big Brother Biao felt that both he and his elder brother were being cuckolded. If he hooked up with his sister-in-law, that was the family's private affair. If the meat was rotten, it was their own pot to eat from. After all, his elder brother was often away from home, so it was only natural for him to take care of his sister-in-law. Even if his sister-in-law became pregnant with his child, that would still be their own seed. But if his sister-in-law committed adultery with Lao Wang, it would be like their own crops being eaten by someone else's pig. If his sister-in-law became pregnant with Lao Wang's child, his elder brother would truly become a great wronged man. Raising someone else's child, enough is enough. All of this stemmed from the boy before him. Big Brother Biao's anger surged instantly. With a cold, stern gaze, he looked at Song Wen. "Kid, you dare to touch someone under my protection. It seems you're tired of living." Before he finished speaking, Big Brother Biao tightened his fist the size of a cooking pot and smashed it down. Facing Big Brother Biao's sudden attack, Song Wen was initially startled, but he quickly realized that while Big Brother Biao appeared formidable, he actually lacked any real threat. His punches were unstructured, relying solely on brute strength. However, Big Brother Biao's immense physical strength was terrifying. If that punch landed solidly, Song Wen would undoubtedly suffer a serious injury, or worse. Song Wen ducked his body agilely, evading Big Brother Biao's fist. At the same time, he reached into his boot with his right hand, retrieving the dagger he had obtained from the medicine garden. With a push off his toes, Song Wen leaped forward 2 steps, crashing directly into Big Brother Biao's embrace. With a smooth motion, he thrust the dagger forward, piercing Big Brother Biao's chest with precision. Song Wen's entire sequence of actions was fluid and decisive, without a hint of hesitation. By the time the dagger pierced his heart, Big Brother Biao hadn't even reacted. Hot blood flowed along the dagger, carrying away Big Brother Biao's strength and courage. Big Brother Biao widened his eyes in disbelief in the dim light. He couldn't even see how Song Wen had moved. You! Big Brother Biao tried to say something, but found himself unable to utter a single word in stark contrast to Big Brother Biao's fear of impending death. Song Wen's eyes gleamed with a fervor akin to a psychopath's satisfaction when committing murder-distorted inner satisfaction, of course. Song Wen wasn't a psychopath. The moment he stabbed the dagger into Big Brother Biao's body, he felt a surge of heat flowing into his own body through the dagger, having taken the blood-rejuvenating pill. His depleted energy and blood were quickly replenished. His previously weak body instantly became full of vigor. Every cell in Song Wen's body seemed to cheer in jubilance. Even his mind was unusually excited. This feeling was exquisite, intoxicatingly pleasurable, and made him forget everything. In contrast, Big Brother Biao's strong body rapidly shriveled and dried up. Within a few breaths, the 60 to 70 of water content in the human body quickly evaporated. In an instant, Big Brother Biao's flesh became a dry corpse. His robe hung loosely on his shrunken body, barely fitting on his corpse. End of the chapter. Chapter 14. Big Brother Biao. Quickly teach this kid a harsh lesson. Kill him. The little beggar was behind Big Brother Biao in dim light and hadn't noticed anything unusual about Big Brother Biao yet. Still shouting fiercely, Song Wen felt that there was nothing left to devour on Big Brother Biao's shrunken body. With a push of his left hand, the dried corpse floated lightly and flew out. Only then did the little beggar see clearly the tragic state of Big Brother Biao, completely shriveled and dehydrated. His skin turned yellow and wrinkled, resembling a 1,000-year-old corpse. Ah, a ghost. A blood-sucking demon. The little beggar was terrified, his legs went weak, and he sat down. Then, in a panic, he scrambled backwards. The little beggar's panicked cry awakened Song Wen from his trance. He himself was shocked by Big Brother Biao's gruesome state. After a brief moment of hesitation, he looked coldly at the fleeing little beggar. He must not let the little beggar escape. He could kill and devour the essence of blood. He absolutely couldn't let others find out. Thinking back to the inexplicable energy that saved his life when he took the blood-rejuvenating pill, Song Wen was certain that his body seemed to harbor a great secret, one that could cause panic. It must not be exposed. With all his strength, Song Wen kicked off, leaping more than 10 feet, and grabbed the back of the little beggar's neck. No, please spare me. The little beggar pleaded loudly. Song Wen, however, remained indifferent, his heart as cold as a stone, unmoved by the little beggar's youth. There was no innocence or childlike purity about this little beggar. All that existed was ruthlessness and ferocity. Allowing him to escape would undoubtedly sow enormous seeds of danger for himself. The dagger mercilessly pierced the little beggar's heart, ending his brief life. The essence of blood in the little beggar's body was once again consumed, leaving behind a dry corpse, and Song Wen once again experienced that exquisite and wonderful sensation of extreme comfort. Having absorbed the essence of blood from a middle-aged man and a lively child in succession, Song Wen felt somewhat overwhelmed. It was akin to the feeling of extreme hunger after binge eating and drinking. Song Wen felt every muscle and cell in his body pulsating, his body trembling uncontrollably. His mind was also hazy, as if drunk, feeling that the ground beneath his feet was soft and fluffy, almost like stepping on clouds, an incredibly unreal sensation. Even the spiritual energy in his elixir field was boiling and surging like he had taken a stimulant. Struggling to calm his thoughts, Song Wen looked at the two corpses on the ground and pondered how to dispose of them. If he left them here, it could potentially cause panic and draw attention from the authorities. If someone traced it back to him, it would be troublesome. He estimated that being seen as a demon descending to Earth could lead to public execution. I must destroy the corpses and leave no trace. Enduring physical and mental discomfort, Song Wen looked around and found no one nearby. No one had noticed yet. He tried to channel his spiritual energy and delivered a full-force punch to the corpse of the little beggar. After consuming the essence of blood, the corpse's resilience deteriorated significantly. Song Wen's punch directly shattered the little beggar's head. The shattered head turned into a pile of gray-white rotten flesh, devoid of any trace of blood. Song Wen's eyes lit up. After being shattered, it was almost impossible to recognize the head as human. Song Wen picked up all the fragments of the little beggar's skull and scattered them into the filthy drain. After completing all this, Song Wen quickly left the alley. When Songwon completed the absorption of the essence of blood, he suddenly realized that both his physical agitation and mental instability had intensified. Just now, while dealing with the dry corpses, the intense nervousness had diluted the discomfort, but it hadn't disappeared, only accumulated, and now it erupted suddenly. Songwon felt that he was losing control of his body, and even standing straight became somewhat difficult, struggling to endure. Songwon stumbled and finally arrived at the Tian Sha gang. Finally reaching his room with great difficulty, Songwon immediately wanted to practice to alleviate the discomfort in his body. However, he found that whether it was the surging blood within his body or the fluctuating state of his mind, he couldn't calm down enough to meditate. With no other choice, he could only lie on the bed and wait for his body to naturally recover. Unexpectedly, as he lay down, he gradually fell asleep until he woke up the next morning. The discomfort in his body and mind had gradually diminished by the next morning. However, his whole body was still full of vitality, as if it could automatically dissipate. Even the little brother was standing tall at this moment. Someone suddenly knocked on the door. Young Master Song, breakfast is ready. It was Chen-Yi, the servant, delivering the meal. As if his body had also expended a lot of energy while absorbing and digesting the essence of blood last night. Songwon felt incredibly hungry at this moment, as if he could eat an entire cow. Songwon immediately got out of bed and opened the door. He saw an elderly woman holding a food box waiting outside. She lowered her eyes, which happened to fall on Songwon's waist and abdomen, and her gaze seemed a bit distracted, taking the food box. Songwon said, "Thank you, Anchin. I'm quite hungry today. Could you please bring 2 more? No, 5 more breakfasts?" Aunt Chin was somewhat surprised and didn't respond immediately. It wasn't until Songwon closed the door that she reacted, her face inexplicably flushed, murmuring to herself, "Young and not frugal, quite generous indeed, big appetite too. But being light is good." Since Songwon started cultivating qi, his senses had become more sensitive. He heard every word of Chen-Yi muttering outside clearly. He glanced down and realized that he seemed to have spent quite a bit. After finishing all 6 breakfasts that Aunt Chun brought over, Songwon finally felt full in his stomach. He opened the door, stepped out, and entered the medicine garden to take care of the spiritual herbs, aiding digestion at the same time. He pondered to himself, last night he devoured the essence of blood from 2 people to an excessive extent. Upon introspection, he found that his previously severely deficient blood and qi had been completely replenished. As for the excess blood and qi from last night, he couldn't feel them anymore. He also felt that his physical body had undergone a slight enhancement, although the enhancement effect was minimal and not very noticeable. He could clearly feel it. Furthermore, his spiritual state seemed to have undergone a certain degree of improvement, and his understanding of cultivation techniques had become much clearer. Why is it that my consumption not only includes their essence of blood, but also something else? Where does my body's devouring ability really come from? Could this be the long-awaited blessing for traversers through worlds? A golden finger. With sharp thoughts, Songwon quickly realized that his devouring ability seemed to help him resolve the current dilemma. As long as he operated it well, he had a good chance of eliminating extreme. In thinking of this, Songwon's mind became active from start to finish. He didn't feel uncomfortable at all because of killing. Instead, there was always a faint expectation deep down for killing and devouring blood once again. End of the chapter. Chapter 15. On the 2nd floor of a small building, Ji-in walked out of his room, prepared to summon the young man from the steward's room for morning lessons, and noticed Songwon busy in the medicine field. He also clearly observed Songwon's robust state of qi and blood. Ji-in's spirit lifted. It seems that the last refinement of the elixir was very successful. This kid's body recovered so quickly. I need to quickly start a new batch of elixirs for refining. As Ji-in silently contemplated this, in high spirits, he couldn't help but speak up. Songwon, it appears your body has recovered quite well. Your teacher is very pleased. When you have time, take a walk outside. It will greatly benefit your recovery. After saying this, Ji-in didn't wait for Songwon's response and briskly walked away. Songwon watched Ji-in walk away in the distance, feeling somewhat strange in his heart, wondering what had gotten into this old Ian today to make him so excited. After finishing the busy work in the medicine field, the sun was already nearing its peak. Songwon felt a bit hungry again in his stomach. After washing up, he left Tian Sha gang. Songwon's eyes glimmered with hope. He felt good and decided to reward himself. Tian Sha gang wielded immense power in Yanqing, with myriad connections to the livelihoods of the people in Yanqing, including clothing, food, shelter, and other industries. especially the shops near Tian Sha Gang. Most of the larger ones belonged to Tian Sha Gang. Song didn't want to eat at Tian Sha Gang's territory, so he went straight to a street-side stall. The stall was very small, just a makeshift table by the street with 3 tables. There were some cooked meats on the stall, looking quite appetizing. The stall wasn't busy. All 3 tables were empty. Song casually found a seat and sat down. The stall's owner was a young couple, the husband handling ingredients while the wife cleaned the tables. Seeing a customer arrive, the young woman hastened her movements and asked, "Customer, what would you like to eat? Bring more meat, stir-fry 2 side dishes, and a large bowl of noodles." Songwon said, "Sure. Please wait a moment, customer." Upon hearing this, the young woman's face lit up with joy. Their family of 5, with parents and a 3-year-old child, relied on this small stall for a living. However, business at the stall was not good, and they lived a rather frugal life. From Songwon's attire, it was clear he wasn't short of money. Moreover, judging by how Songwon ordered, he seemed generous. They should be able to earn quite a bit from him. The husband and wife began to busy themselves, the young woman braising meat, while the husband fired up the stove to prepare the stir-fry. In no time, the young woman brought over 2 plates of braised meat. "Please enjoy, customer. The rest will be ready shortly." The braised meat tasted good, and Songwon quickly finished the 2 plates in front of him. At this moment, the young woman came over with a tray holding noodles and stir-fry. 2 more plates of braised meat. "Sure, customer," the young woman said, setting down the noodles and stir-fry before leaving with a smile. Just as Songwon was enjoying his meal, 3 men arrived at the stall and sat at the adjacent empty table. Since Songwon had his back to the 3 men, he didn't see their faces. He didn't pay much attention to them, thinking they were just ordinary passers-by. The 3 men also ordered some braised meat and rice dishes. Soon, the young woman served them. The 3 men ate quickly, finishing their meals in no time. Burp. One of them burped, stood up, and said, "Let's go." The other 2 also got up and headed outside. Seeing the 3 men finish eating and leave, the young woman hurriedly wiped her hands on her apron and approached them with a smile on her face. "Customers, the meal comes to a total of 142 copper coins." The lead man showed no intention of paying, looking at the young woman with disdain, his eyes roaming over her, especially focusing on her ample chest before settling on her pretty face. "Hey, little lady, you're quite attractive." The other 2 men laughed lightly upon hearing his words. "Bosqua has a good eye, indeed a bit charming. Young lady, come with Bosqua from now on. I guarantee you a life of luxury, no more exposure to the elements or doing these lowly jobs." "Ha ha." Songwon, who had been focused on eating, turned his head upon hearing Bosqua and saw that the 3 men were Gua Hang and his 2 subordinates. A surge of anger rose within Songwon. If it hadn't been for Bosqua's deception, he wouldn't have joined Tian Sha Gang, wouldn't have fallen into Ji Yin's hands, and wouldn't have been poisoned with 7 days heartbreaking powder. Gua Hang noticed Songwen's gaze, turned to look, but didn't immediately recognize Songwen. He felt Songwen was familiar, but couldn't remember where he had seen him. After Songwen became Ji Yin's personal disciple, his attire had greatly improved. No longer the shabby appearance of before. At this moment, amidst the frivolous banter of Gua Hang and his men, the young woman looked flustered and quickly retreated behind her husband, who rushed over to help. The stall owner shielded his wife. Behind him, wearing a smile of submission on his face, "Gentlemen, you're just joking? Our daughter-in-law is plain and unremarkable. How could she attract your gaze?" Gua Hang was drawn to the stall owner's words. No longer paying attention to Songwon, he suppressed the smirk on his face, his expression turning fierce as he said, "Listen carefully, I'm from Tian Sha Gang. It's already a favor to you that we're eating at your roadside stall. Do you dare ask me for money?" The stall owner wore a pained expression. 142 copper coins was a considerable sum for their impoverished family, enough to sustain them for several days, but circumstances forced him to yield. The stall owner bowed deeply, wearing a pleading expression. I dare not, customers, please go slowly." Gua Hang sneered at the stall owner and eyed him disdainfully. "You know your place." With that, he turned and left with his 2 subordinates. Songwen stared at their departing figures, his eyes cold. Apart from Ji Yin, Gua Hang was the person he hated the most, now that Songwen had Ji Yin as his backer. Although Ji Yin was only using him as a test subject for medicines, he would never allow Songwen to get into trouble easily. He could totally exploit Ji Yin's reputation to do some outrageous things, even if he killed Gua Hang and his men on the spot. Tian Sha Gang wouldn't. Dare to trouble Song Wen. Thinking of this, a sinister thought arose in Song Wen's mind. His right hand reached into his boot and touched the dagger hidden there. End of the chapter. Chapter 16. At the next moment, Song Wen loosened his dagger. He suddenly realized that he couldn't kill Guo Hang and the others, at least not in front of everyone's eyes. His body had the ability to involuntarily devour others' essence and blood. He wasn't sure if he could control the process of devouring others' blood. If he killed Guo Hang and the others in front of everyone and his body uncontrollably absorbed their essence, he would have no defense and would surely be branded a demon, burned alive in public. To appease public anger, Song Wen stood up and spoke loudly, "Sir Guo, please wait." Guo Hang heard the words and turned around. Staring at Song Wen, "Who are you?" The more Guo Hang looked at Song Wen, the more familiar he felt, but he couldn't recall where he had seen him. Song Wen smiled, "Sir Guo has a good memory. Thanks to you back then, I was recommended to the Tian Sha gang. It was because of that I could become the direct disciple of Master Ji Yin. I have to thank Sir Guo for your guidance." A flicker of recognition flashed in Guo Hang's eyes. "You're that scholar?" called Song Wen. Song Wen said, "Sir Guo has a great memory indeed." There was a trace of apprehension on Guo Hang's face. Before, the young people sent to Ji Yin were all sent to see Yama. Song Wen was the first one who managed to walk out of Ji Yin's courtyard alive. Back then, he had deceived Song Wen and sold him for 10 taels of silver, which could be said to have offended him deeply. Logically speaking, Song Wen should hate him, but looking at Song Wen's face, he couldn't see any hatred, only a deep sense of gratitude. Guo Hang asked cautiously, "If Master Song wants to stop me, what's the matter?" Song Wen had an expression that suggested it was only right and proper. "I came to express my thanks. I must thank Sir Guo for recommending me to the Tian Sha gang. Sir Guo, you are my benefactor." He took out a silver ingot and threw it on the wooden table, saying to the stall owner, "This is the meal money for me and Sir Guo. Sir Guo is an elite of the Tian Sha gang. How can we be short of this little money? It's just that I hurried out today and Sir Guo forgot to bring money." Guo Hang looked at the silver ingot on the table, feeling a bit jealous. It was a full 10 taels of silver, enough for him to live freely for 2 days. He looked at Song Wen again but couldn't discern any falsehood. Instead, Song Wen seemed to be fervently maintaining his own image. Guo Hang couldn't help but wonder, was this Song Wen really that foolish? Did he not realize that he had sold him out back then? While Guo Hang was still pondering, the stall owner was having difficulty deciding. He looked at Song Wen and stuttered, "Sir, I can't make change." Song Wen said, "No need to make change, consider the rest as your tip." The stall owner hesitated. Guo Hang had given him a bad impression just now and he was afraid of trouble, so he didn't dare to easily accept the silver ingot. But when the silver that was within reach was about to slip away from his hand, he couldn't bear it. While the stall owner was hesitating, Song Wen continued, "You can just keep it." Staring at Song Wen, "Who are you?" The more Guo Hang looked at Song Wen, the more familiar he felt, but he couldn't recall where he had seen him. Song Wen smiled, "Sir Guo has a good memory. Thanks to you back then, I was recommended to the Tian Sha gang. It was because of that I could become the direct disciple of Master Ji Yin. I have to thank Sir Guo for your guidance." A flicker of recognition flashed in Guo Hang's eyes. "You're that scholar?" called Song Wen. Song Wen said, "Sir Guo has a great memory indeed." There was a trace of apprehension on Guo Hang's face. Before, the young people sent to Ji Yin were all sent to see Yama. Song Wen was the first one who managed to walk out of Ji Yin's courtyard alive. Back then, he had deceived Song Wen and sold him for 10 taels of silver, which could be said to have offended him deeply. Logically speaking, Song Wen should hate him, but looking at Song Wen's face, he couldn't see any hatred, only a deep sense of gratitude. Guo Hang asked cautiously, "If Master Song wants to stop me, what's the matter?" Song Wen had an expression that suggested it was only right and proper. "I came to express my thanks. I must thank Sir Guo for recommending me to the Tian Sha gang. Sir Guo, you are my benefactor." He took out a silver ingot and threw it on the wooden table, saying to the stall owner, "This is the meal money for me and Sir Guo. Sir Guo is an elite of the Tian Sha gang. How can we be short of this little money? It's just that I hurried out today and Sir Guo forgot to bring money." Guo Hang looked at the silver ingot on the table, feeling a bit jealous. It was a full 10 taels of silver, enough for him to live freely for 2 days. He looked at Song Wen again but couldn't discern any falsehood. Instead, Song Wen seemed to be fervently maintaining his own image. Guo Hang couldn't help but wonder, was this Song Wen really that foolish? Did he not realize that he had sold him out back then? While Guo Hang was still pondering, the stall owner was having difficulty deciding. He looked at Song Wen and stuttered, "Sir, I can't make change." Song Wen said, "No need to make change, consider the rest as your tip." The stall owner hesitated. Guahang had given him a bad impression just now and he was afraid of trouble, so he didn't dare to easily accept the silver ingot, but when the silver that was within reach was about to slip away from his hand, he couldn't bear it. While the stall owner was hesitating, Songwen continued, "You can just keep it." After saying that, Songwen said to Guahang again, "Sir Gua, where's your residence? I plan to visit when I have some free time." "At No. 15, Tonglua Lane." Guahang blurted out as soon as he said it. He regretted it. He always felt that Songwen was acting strangely. He shouldn't have revealed his true residence so easily. A sense of unease rose in his heart. And Guahang decided to stay away from Songwen for now. "Master Song, I still have gang affairs today, so I won't accompany you. Another day, I'll treat you to meat and wine." Songwen sneered. "Sir Gua seems busy." Guahang, accompanied by his two subordinates, turned and left, staring at the backs of the three men. Songwen's eyes were cold, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "No. 25, Tonglua Lane. Just wait, I'll come find you soon." After walking a long distance, Guahang suddenly turned around and looked towards the position of the small stall, but Songwen's figure was nowhere to be seen. The more he thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. He felt that Songwen was acting too unusually. How could there be such a foolish person in this world? Did he really not realize that he had sold him out? Now that Songwen was a disciple of Ji-in, Guahang felt powerless to harm him. Just then, on the street ahead, a group of people appeared. More than 10 elite members of the Tian Sha gang surrounded a bullock cart and slowly approached. A sturdy green ox pulled a cart frame without a canopy. On the wooden boards of the frame lay the body of a giant white tiger about 12 feet long. The robust body of the white tiger, its sharp claws, and its pointed fangs all indicated its former fierceness, attracting many passers-by to stop and watch. The members of the Tian Sha gang praised incessantly, surrounding a young man in his 20s. "Acting leader, you're truly remarkable. At such a young age, you managed to hunt down this kind of fierce beast alone. TSK. Look at the fangs of this beast. They must be at least 4 inches long, and those sharp claws and thick tail. It's incredible that the acting leader could kill it. In the future, under the leadership of our acting leader, the Tian Sha gang will surely become even stronger." Listening to the praise of the crowd and the admiring gazes of onlookers, Tang Liang felt proud and satisfied. Even the leg where a piece of flesh had been torn off by the white tiger didn't seem painful anymore. His eyes suddenly caught sight of Guahang ahead. He waved at Guahang and shouted loudly, "Guahang, come here. Come see how this acting leader slaughtered this white tiger." Upon hearing Tang Liang's call, Guahang couldn't help but feel surprised. As the son of the gang leader, Tang Liang was appointed as the acting leader by the gang leader, Tang Anan. Usually, Tang Liang looked down on him as a small gangster and ignored him. Today, unexpectedly, he took the initiative to greet him. Guahang suddenly had a plan in mind. If he couldn't deal with Songwen, maybe Tang Liang could. Guahang hurried over to Tang Liang and bowed respectfully. "Acting leader, did you call me?" Pointing at the white tiger with hanging eyes, Tang Liang said, "What do you think of this white tiger?" Guahang showed a look of admiration. "Acting leader is mighty, facing such a fierce beast alone and being able to kill it. Only a hero like the acting leader has the courage." Tang Liang nodded in satisfaction. Guahang suddenly changed the topic. "It's a pity." "A pity about what?" Tang Liang's expression turned sour, displeased. "It's a pity that we martial artists, no matter how powerful, are just ordinary martial men. Our mortal strength is limited, unlike people like Ji-in, who can effortlessly unleash powerful spells with just a gesture." The satisfaction on Tang Liang's face gradually faded, replaced by resentment. He had begged Ji-in many times, even had his father plead on his behalf, to learn immortal techniques. But Ji-in completely disregarded their dignity, bluntly stating, "Neither of you have the fate for immortality," and flatly refused them, without even giving them a chance. How could Ji-in know that they didn't have the fate for immortality? End of the chapter. Chapter 17. The relationship between Ji-in and the Tian Sha gang was delicate. On the one hand, both sides were wary of each other, fearing treachery. On the other hand, both sides needed each other's strengths. Ji-in needed the Tian Sha gang to procure various spiritual herbs and capture young people who were literate. The Tian Sha gang, in turn, used Ji-in's reputation as an immortal to intimidate powerful martial artists and officials of the Qian kingdom. preventing them from easily attacking the Tian Sha gang. Tang Liang, in pursuit of immortality, had once eavesdropped on Ji Yin's morning lectures, but all he got were bits and pieces without understanding the essence. The young people who failed to successfully cultivate were all executed under Ji Yin's surveillance. Tang Liang's idea of obtaining cultivation techniques from these young people ended in disappointment. Tang Liang's expression was grim, his eyes full of unwillingness. Who among mortals doesn't want to become an immortal? But the fate of immortality is not easily obtained. Guohang sighed. Even heroes like the young acting master cannot come into contact with the fate of immortality. Someone like me, a mere gang member, has even less hope. However, even a roadside beggar can obtain the fate of immortality, while the young acting master cannot. This fate of immortality is truly unfathomable. Tang Liang furrowed his brow. What beggar? Guohang replied. Young acting master. Don't you know? Elder Ji Yin took on a personal disciple who used to be a beggar. At these words, Tang Liang looked disdainful. I thought maybe some beggar had good luck and stumbled upon immortal techniques. Elder Ji Yin's personal disciples are more than one, and the final outcome, heh. Guohang continued, but this time it's different. Elder Ji Yin should have truly taken in a disciple. This person can freely enter and leave the Tian Sha gang. Elder Ji Yin's previous disciples couldn't even leave his courtyard. Tang Liang raised an eyebrow. Is this true? Guohang affirmed, I wouldn't dare deceive the young acting master. That person is called Songwon, and he's also associated with the Tian Sha gang. The young acting master will find out with a simple investigation. I just met him. Let's go. Lead me to find that person. Tang Liang was intrigued. He didn't dare confront Ji Yin directly, but surely he could handle a young man in his teens? Guohang's expression froze for a moment, then he quickly grabbed Tang Liang, who had already taken a few steps. Young acting master, what are you planning? Of course, to find that person and obtain the cultivation techniques, Tang Liang said as a matter of course. Young acting master, this must not be rash. What if Songwon doesn't cooperate and refuses to hand over the techniques? Guohang's objective was not to let Tang Liang obtain cultivation techniques but to completely eliminate Songwon as a threat. If Songwon did hand over the cultivation techniques to Tang Liang, Guohang's efforts would have been in vain. Tang Liang's eyes narrowed. He dares not to give them. Guohang continued, even if he hands over the cultivation techniques, after returning to the gang, he will report it to Elder Ji Yin. How will the young acting master deal with that? Tang Liang pondered for a moment. You make some sense. I didn't see it before. You, Guohang, do have some brains. So, what should we do? Guohang lowered his voice and said softly, naturally, we should secretly arrest him, extract the cultivation techniques, and then quietly dispose of him. This way, no one will know and there won't be any suspicion before taking action. We need to assess Songwen's strength. After a moment of contemplation, Tang Liang nodded. If this plan succeeds, you'll stay by my side in the future. Your brain is quite useful. Thank you for the young acting master's appreciation. Guohang's eyes were shining with excitement. It was truly killing two birds with one stone, dealing with the threat of Songwen and gaining the young acting master's favor. Unaware of all this, after leaving the small stall, Songwen returned to Ji Yin's small courtyard. Upon returning to his residence, Songwen began to meditate and cultivate. Now that he had a way to deal with Ji Yin, he naturally needed to intensify his cultivation. The stronger he became, the better he could handle risks. For days passed in a flash. During these days, besides daily cultivation and tending to spiritual herbs, Songwen didn't go out. Calculating the time, Songwen knew that today was the day he should take the antidote. Early in the morning, he came to the second floor. After knocking lightly on the door a few times, Ji Yin's voice came from inside before he could speak. Wait outside. Songwen could only wait quietly at the door. After a quarter of an hour, Ji Yin finally opened the door. Glancing at Songwen as if knowing his purpose, Ji Yin handed over a porcelain bottle. This is the antidote for this time. Finishing his words, Ji Yin went downstairs. Thank you, master, for the medicine. Songwen looked respectfully at Ji Yin's departing figure. He had a feeling that Ji Yin's mood today was somewhat off, as if he had encountered some unpleasant situation. What Songwen didn't know was that, until today, none of the new disciples had successfully drawn qi. Songwen took the porcelain bottle back to his room. He uncorked the bottle, revealing a dark red pill inside. After a brief moment of contemplation, Songwen tilted his head back and swallowed the pill. Originally, he had planned to take the antidote later to test whether it could resist the toxicity and enhance his blood and mystical energy. However, upon careful consideration, he decided against it. There was no need to risk his life for an experiment. If the toxicity were to suddenly erupt violently, it could take his life instantly, and regret would come too late. After taking the antidote, he felt nothing unusual, just like swallowing an ordinary pill. Nevertheless, Song-won felt a slight sense of relief. At least for the next 7 days, he didn't need to worry about the 7 days heartbreaking pill. At the hour of 5 to 7 p.m., after several days of hard cultivation, Song-won decided to take a stroll outside and have dinner along the way. Song-won, where are you going? As soon as he stepped out of the door, he heard Ji-yin's voice coming from the first floor. Song-won looked up and saw Ji-yin standing in the corridor on the first floor. Reporting to Master, I'm going out for a walk. Ji-yin nodded. Return early. The night in Yenqing is not peaceful. You've just begun your cultivation. Your spiritual power is weak, and you don't know any spells. You won't be a match for slightly stronger martial artists. Thank you for your concern, Master. With that, Song-won walked out. Regarding Ji-yin's sudden concern, Song-won understood clearly that it was merely out of concern for the loss of a promising medicine slave. Not genuine concern for his life, however. Ji-yin's words made sense. The danger in Yenqing at night indeed increased exponentially. Song-won found a decent restaurant not far from the Tiansha gang. After a short while sitting down, the waiter brought out excellent food. After eating and drinking his fill, as Song-won stepped out of the restaurant, he saw Guahang approaching him. Songzi, didn't expect to meet you here again today. Note, Z with names is used as an honorific for scholars. Seeing Guahang coming towards him, Song-won looked at him with some doubt. Last time they met, Guahang was clearly avoiding him. Why was he so enthusiastic today? Moreover, Guahang's appearance seemed a bit too coincidental. Without changing his expression, Song-won smiled and said, Guayi, it's indeed a coincidence. Have you had dinner? If not, let me treat you. Guahang replied, How can I let Songzi pay? Come, I invite Songzi to listen to the music in the pavilion. Song-won intended to find a secluded place and dispose of Guahang, but Guahang unexpectedly came to him. Song-won felt suspicious initially. When they first met, Song-won was betrayed by Guahang. He dared not underestimate Guahang, who seemed like just a small local thug. He always felt that Guahang was up to something today. Upon further reflection, Song-won realized today, Guahang came alone previously. He was always accompanied by 2 big men, but they were nowhere to be seen today. Why didn't I see your 2 men today? Guahang's face showed a trace of panic. They had something to do today and didn't come with me. He came today alone to lure and capture Song-won. Knowing that fewer people involved would be better for this, he naturally wouldn't bring his 2 useless subordinates. Seeing Guahang's unnatural expression, Song-won immediately made a decision. Thank you for the invitation, Guayi, but Master instructed me to return before dark when going out. I must disappoint your kindness. Song-won bowed slightly to Guahang, walked out of the restaurant gate, and headed towards the Tiansha gang. Watching Song-won's departing figure, Guahang's expression first showed some disappointment, then turned sinister. Although it wasn't completely dark yet, the sun had already set early, and the sky was dim. There were few people on the road, only scattered individuals. Forcing action was still feasible. He raised his right hand, making a throat-slitting gesture. Song-won walked along the main road, heading several dozen zhang ahead. In front of him on the right, there was a fork leading into a dim, narrow alley. Without any hesitation, Song-won continued forward. As he approached the fork, suddenly 3 figures in black rushed out from the alley. The 3 figures were dressed in black armor with their heads covered and only their eyes exposed. The closest one to Song-won raised his hand and grabbed towards him. When Song-won realized there were thugs nearby, and they were only 2 feet away. End of the chapter. Chapter 18. Just as he was about to be captured, Song-won stepped back half a step, narrowly avoiding the grab from the black-clothed person. Seeing the surprise attack fail, the 3 black-clothed individuals no longer held back, moving extremely fast. With one blocking in front of Song-won, another behind him, and the closest one directly pouncing towards Song-won with little experience in combat. Song-won instinctively activated his spiritual power and threw a punch towards the person pouncing at him. The person didn't regard Song-won's attack seriously. They had already investigated the guards outside Ji-yin's courtyard in secret. Just a few days ago, Song-won had only just succeeded in drawing qi into his body. Even if the methods of cultivating immortality were miraculous, it was impossible to gain significant power within such a short period. The person did not dodge and continued to pounce towards Songwon. Bang. The punch landed solidly on the chest of the black-clothed person. Crack. The crisp sound of bones breaking echoed. The person was sent flying several zhang away by the punch, crashing heavily to the ground. A mouthful of blood sprayed from his mouth, instantly soaking the black cloth covering his face. Young Master Xiao. The other two black-clothed individuals exclaimed in panic, "Capture him, don't let him escape." Knocked down by Songwen's punch was Tang Liang, the acting leader of the Tiansha gang. He struggled to get up, but Songwen's punch had shattered several of his ribs with some bone fragments piercing his lungs, making it difficult for him to move. Before coming, he had already investigated Songwen and considered himself a second-rate martial artist. With two subordinates of mediocre strength, they thought it would be easy to capture Songwen, who had only been cultivating for 10 days. A second-rate martial artist would also be well known in the martial arts world. However, underestimating Songwen, he had failed to withstand Songwen's punch. Tang Liang had also considered seeking help from the top experts in the gang. But there were only a few top experts in the Tiansha gang, and their relationships were not close. There was a risk of leaking information. The other two black-clothed individuals, seeing that Songwen was not easy to deal with, each reached for their waists and drew gleaming short swords, then attacked Songwen. Knowing he wasn't a match for the two, Songwen rolled on the spot, rolled past Tang Liang, and pulled out a dagger from his boot, pressing it against Tang Liang's throat. "Back off, or I'll kill him." Songwen shouted sharply. The two black-clothed individuals froze in place, unsure of what to do. "Songzi, stop, we just want the method of immortality. We don't want to be enemies with you," one of the black-clothed individuals said in a low voice. The incident here had already attracted the attention of passers-by. In the chaos, the habit of avoiding danger had already taken root in everyone, and they all stayed far away. The black-clothed individuals spoke directly about their intentions. Unafraid of being overheard, Songwen sneered, "If you want the method, go find Ji-in. Why come kidnap me? If you can't deal with Ji-in, you're picking on me, a soft target." Lying on the ground, Tang Liang finally recovered his breath and shouted, "I am the acting leader of the Tiansha gang. Dare to touch me and you won't escape. Hand over the method of immortality immediately and we'll guarantee your safety." Just now, one of the black-clothed individuals had already revealed his identity, so there was no need for him to conceal it any longer. He openly admitted his identity. Songwen wasn't about to believe his nonsense. If Tang Liang, as the acting leader of the Tiansha gang, couldn't obtain the method of immortality, it only meant that Ji-in valued the method as a treasure and wasn't willing to easily impart it to others. If he revealed the method himself and Ji-in found out, he probably wouldn't care about the loyalty he owed to his slave and would kill him to vent his anger. "Even if I die, I'll die with you. You can try me." Songwen's expression was fierce. He tore off the black cloth covering Tang Liang's face, memorized Tang Liang's appearance, and slapped Tang Liang's face hard. Puff. Another mouthful of blood spurted out of Tang Liang's mouth, along with two teeth. "Move aside." Songwen shouted loudly. The two black-clothed individuals looked at each other and slowly backed away. Quickly, the two of them retreated several zhang away. "Keep going, faster, back off 50 zhang." Songwen shouted loudly. When the two black-clothed individuals retreated 40-something zhang away, Songwen suddenly ran without warning, sprinting towards the Tiansha gang. As for Tang Liang, Songwen didn't kill him. If he really killed Tang Liang, Songwen worried that the leader of the Tiansha gang would go crazy, and Ji-in wouldn't be able to protect him in the future. The two black-clothed individuals wanted to chase after Songwen, but they were too far away. They wanted to do so, but lacked the strength to and could only leave with Tang Liang. Songwen ran all the way, stopping only when he reached Ji Yin's courtyard. Gasping for breath, he slowly walked towards the small building. "Tiansha gang, Tang Liang, wait for me." In Songwen's resentful thoughts, at the same time he decided in his heart that he couldn't easily leave this courtyard anymore. At least within this courtyard, he was temporarily safe. As Songwen walked under the small building, Ji Yin's figure suddenly appeared in the corridor on the second floor. "Songwen, what's wrong with you? You're gasping for breath." Master, nothing's wrong, just went for a run, stretching my legs." Songwen hesitated for a moment but ultimately chose not to reveal the truth. Tang Liang had come for the method of cultivation. If Songwen informed Ji-in about this, it would keep Ji-in focused on Tang Liang, but whether Tang Liang, as the acting leader, would be killed was uncertain. After all, Ji-in still had uses for the Tiansha gang. Tang Liang might not die, but Ji-in would surely suspect whether Songwen had leaked the method at that time. Forget about freely entering and leaving the courtyard. He might not even be able to leave the small building and could face severe torture from Ji-in. Ji-in didn't suspect anything and turned back into his room. Time flew by quickly, and in the blink of an eye, Song-won had taken the antidote 4 times. It meant that the batch of young people who had arrived had been here for a month. During this time, Song-won noticed that Ji-yin's temper became increasingly irritable because none of the new arrivals had successfully drawn chi into their bodies. This made Ji-in impatient. After investing so much time. Song-won, here's an antidote pill. I'm going to seclude myself for a while. Take good care of the medicine garden. Ji-in spared Song-won's life this time and stopped using him as a guinea pig for testing medicines. Song-won managed the medicine garden quite well, saving Ji-in a lot of time. Now, all the students had failed to draw chi into their bodies, causing Ji-in to gradually lose patience. He was preparing to restart the furnace for refining pills. As for Song-won's fate, he could only leave it to fate. If Song-won died from testing medicines, then it could only be blamed on his bad luck. Watching Ji-yin's figure gradually disappear behind the stone door of the refining room, Song-won muttered to himself, "It looks like I'll have to kill a few people and consume some chi and blood." Song-won couldn't help but feel excited. This would be the best opportunity to break free from Ji-yin's control. The essence blood he absorbed from killing Little Beggar and Biao-gu had gradually been absorbed by his body. He wasn't sure where this essence blood had gone, but he was certain that his physical body had been significantly strengthened. The next day, since the ambush by Tang Liang last time, Song-won had not stepped out of the courtyard again. Today, he once again stepped out through the gate of the Tiansha gang. In the bustling streets, after half an hour of walking and finding no one following him, he headed towards No. 15 of Tongluo Lane. Tongluo Lane was obviously a lane where common people lived, with most houses being relatively old and low. Entering the alley, Song-won noticed there were no house numbers. He had to stop a passing old lady to ask for directions. "Madam, could you please tell me how to get to No. 15, Tongluo Lane?" The old lady glanced at Song-won with some disdain. "I don't know." Seeing her expression, Song-won knew that she definitely knew where No. 15, Tongluo Lane was and who Gua Hang lived there. She just had some resentment towards Gua Hang and, incidentally, extended that resentment to anyone who inquired about Gua Hang's residence, hence her unwillingness to provide directions. "Madam, I'm not a bad person. I just have some business with Gua Hang." The old lady looked disdainful. "Look at you, all clean and spotless. You don't look like a good person from a good family. What good young man looks so clean like you?" Song-won's mouth twitched. He didn't consider himself particularly clean. It was just that this old lady lived at the bottom of society and knew only the impoverished who were exposed to the sun and rain. She thought Song-won looked clean, mistaking him for someone engaged in certain special activities. The old lady was obstinate, so Song-won had to resort to a special tactic. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a silver coin, handing it to the old lady. "Tell me where No. 15 is. And this silver coin is yours." The old lady's eyes lit up, swiftly took the silver coin, inspected it carefully to make sure it was genuine, and then a warm smile appeared on her face. "Young man, with such clear eyebrows and eyes, you must be a good person." She pointed to a nearby house. "That's No. 15. Then she lowered her voice and said, "That scoundrel isn't living here anymore." Song-won frowned slightly. "Scoundrel, are you talking about Gua Hang? When did he move out?" Mentioning Gua Hang, the old lady's face showed disgust. "Who else but him? A despicable creature. He moved out more than 10 days ago." "Do you know where he moved to?" The old lady shook her head. "I have no idea." She hurriedly tucked the silver coin into her pocket, afraid that Song-won might want it back. End of the chapter. Chapter 19. Bidding farewell to the auntie, Song-won arrived outside house number 15. The house appeared somewhat dilapidated. It seemed no one had lived there for a while. Song-won turned and left Tongluo Lane. Auntie said Go Hang had moved out more than 20 days ago, which was around the time he was attacked by Tang Liang. It was clear that Go Hang was an extremely cautious person, anticipating that Song-won might come looking for trouble and had moved out ahead of time. Song-won returned to the main road. When passing by a ready-made clothing store, he pondered for a moment and went in. A moment later, he changed into a set of sturdy clothes, donned a bamboo hat with a thin veil covering his face, giving him the aura of a wandering swordsman. Song-won made his way to a restaurant not far from the entrance of the Tiansha gang. He sat on the second floor by the window. This position had an excellent view, perfectly overlooking the entrance of the Tiansha gang. He waited there for almost half a day. It wasn't until afternoon that he saw Go Hang, accompanied by 2 of his men, leaving the Tiansha gang. Song-won did not disturb the 3, but instead followed them from a distance. From early afternoon until nightfall, He witnessed firsthand what real thugs were like, extorting small vendors, dining and dashing, harassing roadside women, oppressing beggars. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Songwon wouldn't have believed that someone could do so many bad things. In just one afternoon, finally, the three entered a cheap brothel. Just when Songwon thought he would have to wait outside the brothel for a long time, they came out in less than a quarter of an hour. Darn, did tigers change their stripes? That was fast. Unable to help himself, Songwon muttered. Under the cover of night, he followed the three to a residential house. The house was low and consisted of 3 rooms. Only the middle room had a large door leading in and out. The other 2 side rooms had no doors to the outside, only windows. Go-hang and his 2 men were living alone. During this period, the 3 of them stayed in this residential house. Glancing at the sky, Songwon realized it was past midnight, the time for moonless nights, and killing. Songwon adjusted his sleeves, concealed a bag of powder in his hand, and stepped forward, approaching the door with determination. "Who's there?" "It's the middle of the night," a burly man grumbled as he opened the door. "Song?" The burly man's face showed surprise when he saw Songwon. He couldn't understand why Songwon would appear at his doorstep so late at night. Before he could finish his sentence, bang! Songwon kicked him into the room, knocking over a table behind him. The commotion quickly attracted the attention of the 2 men in the side rooms. Go-hang and another big man rushed out from the side rooms. Seeing Songwon suddenly appear, Go-hang turned pale with shock. "Songwon, how did you find this place?" With a wave of his left hand, a cloud of powder billowed out, engulfing Go-hang and the others, instantly filling the entire main room with white powder. This white powder was a mixture of lime and alkali. Caught off guard, all 3 of them were instantly affected. "Ah, my eyes!" They all frantically covered their eyes, crying out in pain. One of the big men even had blood coming out of his eyes. "Songwon, you despicable scoundrel! What are you trying to do?" In the chaos, Go-hang shouted angrily as he retreated. Go-hang still harbored a glimmer of hope. He hadn't directly clashed with Songwon, attempting instead to deceive and escape unnoticed. "What do you want?" "Of course, it's to repay Lord Go's favor of nurturing and to settle the score. You colluded with Tang Liang to attack me," said Songwon, his voice chilling. "Tang Liang attacked you, so go find Tang Liang. What's it to do with me?" "Don't worry, soon enough, he'll meet you in hell." "Songwon, you, a dignified cultivator, resorting to such lowly tactics like sprinkling lime, do you not feel ashamed?" As he spoke, Go-hang had already felt his way into the side room. Both front and back of the side room had windows. If he escaped through the rear window, there might still be hope of survival. "Enough talk, it's pointless. You've already played your sinister tricks. Go to hell." The reason Songwon hadn't acted earlier was because the powder hadn't completely settled yet. He didn't want to inadvertently harm himself and end up blind like the 3. By now, the powder had settled. With a dagger in hand, Songwon leaped forward like an eagle spreading its wings, pouncing on the nearest person. Splut! The incredibly sharp dagger directly pierced the person's skull. With a forceful twist, Songwon didn't care if the person was dead or alive. He pulled out the dagger, took 2 steps forward, and stabbed the second person in the chest. Then, dagger in hand, he dashed towards Go-hang at the rear, thinking he had the upper hand. Songwon suddenly saw Go-hang raise his right hand through his sleeve. One could see a set of sleeve arrows strapped to his wrist. Seeing the sleeve arrows so close, Songwon's heart skipped a beat, quickly lowering his stature shoe. The sleeve arrow grazed Songwon's scalp and shot past. Just narrowly avoiding the sleeve arrow, Songwon plunged the dagger into Go-hang's chest. Watching Go-hang gradually lose his breath, Songwon felt a wave of lingering fear. Luckily, he had poisoned the 3 beforehand. Otherwise, he might have fallen victim to Go-hang's sleeve arrows. Go-hang was also a patient man. He had only revealed the sleeve arrows at the last moment. Afterwards, Songwon began to absorb the blood essence of the 3. During this blood-sucking, Songwon intentionally experimented. He found that he had to touch the wound area of others to rapidly consume their blood essence. Once his hand left the wound, the bloodthirst slowed considerably, almost imperceptibly absorbing the dispersed blood essence in the air. Moreover, the blood-sucking process was controllable. As long as Songwon willed it, he could stop or start absorbing blood. A moment later, the 3 had become dry corpses after consuming the blood essence of the 3 strong men. Song Wen's body surged with vitality, every cell trembling. From the elation of consuming the first person, his spirit gradually became excessively energetic, causing slight dizziness, perhaps due to his experience in consuming blood for the first time. Both his body and spirit gradually adapted to the sudden surge without losing control this time, just feeling uncomfortable. Having planned this murder, Song Wen naturally didn't handle the bodies unprepared like the first time. He threw all three dry corpses onto the bed and then piled up combustible items like clothes and bedding. Song Wen took out a water bag from his pocket containing naphtha, somewhat similar to gasoline from previous centuries, highly flammable. Pouring the naphtha over the dry corpses, he tossed a match onto them and left without looking back. Instantly, the room erupted in fierce flames. As the house was wooden, it didn't take long for the entire structure to catch fire. Neighboring residents quickly woke to the blaze, watching the roaring fire. Due to their grievances with Gohang, not a single person dared to attempt to put out the fire. The nearest house to Gohang was about 30 feet away. These neighbors were not afraid the fire would spread to their homes. End of the chapter. Chapter 20. The next day, in the main hall of the Tian Sha gang, the head enforcer of the gang, Wang Yi, addressed the gang leader Tang Yu. Leader, last night the houses of 3 of our subordinates from Tian Sha gang caught fire, and all 3 were burned to ashes. Tang Yu was burly with a scarred face, giving him a fierce and intimidating appearance. Oh, someone dared to provoke our Tian Sha gang in Yanqing. Sitting high and mighty in the gang leader's seat, Tang Yu showed no signs of anger but rather seemed amused. Having recently broken through to the realm of Grandmaster, his martial arts prowess before the breakthrough was already considered top tier in the martial world. Enough to dominate Yanqing. Author's note: he is still a mortal, not a cultivator. Now that he had reached this new realm, he was among the very top in the martial world. In the martial world of Qian Kingdom, there were hardly more than a few individuals stronger than him. Immediately, his ambitions began to swell. He was no longer satisfied with just dominating Yanqing. He believed he had the qualifications to establish a sect and become a legend in the martial world. Furthermore, within the gang was an elusive immortal practitioner known as Ji Yin, which only fueled Tang Yu's ambitions further. However, Ji Yin had always been indifferent to secular power, focusing solely on cultivation, making it difficult for Tang Yu to discern his intentions. The relationship between Ji Yin and Tian Sha gang, and Tang Yu in particular, was subtle. There was no camaraderie between them. They relied on each other out of mutual interest. Ji Yin used Tian Sha gang to procure rare spiritual herbs and to train his medicine slaves. In turn, Tian Sha gang utilized Ji Yin's reputation to deter some formidable martial artists. Have you found out who is responsible? Tang Yu asked. Wang Yi replied, according to our investigation, there are intricate connections to one of Ji Yin's disciples. Tang Yu was taken aback. One of Ji Yin's disciples. This matter needs to be handled cautiously. You may leave. I will personally handle this within the gang. After Wang Yi left, Tang Yu muttered to himself, it's been a long time since I've seen Elder Ji Yin. Perhaps it's time to find a suitable opportunity to visit him. Over the next few days, Song Wen hardly left the courtyard. Focusing entirely on refining the qi and blood within his body. In his calculations, Ji Yin should be emerging from seclusion soon. Song Wen couldn't let Ji Yin notice anything abnormal with his qi and blood, otherwise all his previous efforts would be wasted. 4 days later, Ji Yin emerged in good spirits from the alchemy room. Before opening the furnace this time, he felt that his alchemy skills had improved, so he increased the amount of raw materials used, as expected, from this furnace. He successfully produced 4 pills. The quality of the pills was also good, emitting a faint medicinal fragrance. Song Wen, come up to the 2nd floor quickly. Immediately after emerging from seclusion, Ji Yin eagerly summoned Song Wen to test the pills. Song Wen's face was filled with fear as he bent his knees and knelt before Ji Yin, pleading, Master, could you please consider my hard work in taking care of the medicinal field? Please don't make me test the pills again. Ji Yin remained unmoved, calmly saying, don't worry, this time the pill refining was highly successful. There shouldn't be any major side effects. In fact, you might even benefit by breaking through to the 2nd level of qi cultivation. You should know that I am only at the peak of the 3rd level of qi cultivation. Song Wen's pupils contracted, realizing another crucial piece of information. Ji Yin was only at the peak of the 3rd level of qi cultivation but still significantly higher than him. Kneeling on the ground, Song Wen continued to plead. Shifting closer to Ji Yin and grasping his robes, Master, can we recruit a new batch of disciples again? Once one of them successfully cultivates their qi, we can use them to test the pills. With a cold snort, Ji-in waved his hand, pushing Song-won back half a pace. Humph. Recruiting new disciples to test pills would take at least a month. I don't have that much time to wait. For the pills refined today, whether you like it or not, you have to take them. If you refuse, I'll kill you right now. Master, Song-won raised his head, looking at Ji-in with pleading eyes, as if begging for a way out. Ji-in's gaze darkened as he took out a porcelain bottle and poured out a qi and blood pill into his hand. Then he walked 3 or 2 steps towards Song-won. Take it. Seemingly intimidated by Ji-in's powerful aura, Song-won cautiously took the pill into his hand. However, Song-won didn't immediately swallow it. His fearful gaze lingered on the pill in his hand, hesitating between taking it or not. Based on past experience, Ji-in knew that to verify the efficacy of the pill, he needed Song-won's cooperation. If Song-won was determined to die and didn't cultivate his qi and blood while taking the pill would certainly continue to consume his qi and blood, possibly harming him. Ji-in needed Song-won to have a will to survive, to actively cultivate his qi and blood, and quickly dissipate the pill's potency to determine if the pill truly had breakthrough effects. Thus, Ji-in softened his tone. Don't worry. I promise you this will be the last time you test pills for me, whether successful or not. I won't use you for testing pills anymore. Moreover, I will give you the true antidote to the 7 days heartbreak pill when the time comes. You will gain true freedom, deciding for yourself whether to stay in Tian Sha Gang. Song-won's expression softened slightly, seemingly moved by Ji-in's words. He looked up at Ji-in and said, "Okay, I hope Master will keep your promise." In truth, Song-won didn't believe a word of what Ji-in said. How could Ji-in let him go so easily? Didn't he see how the young people who failed to cultivate their qi were all ruthlessly killed by Ji-in to prevent the secrets of his techniques from leaking out? What Song-won was doing now was just an act, just to deceive Ji-in. He was worried that his straightforward acceptance of testing the pills would make Ji-in suspicious. TL note, small chapter, end of the chapter.